The sky above Earth was calm, blue, clear, peaceful, but just beyond that sky, something had arrived. Something massive, something dangerous. A fleet of giant alien ships slowly came into orbit. They were shaped like huge metal insects, black and silver, with glowing red lines running across their surfaces. They belonged to the Draconian Empire, a powerful alien race known for destroying and conquering weak planets. Earth was next. Commander Aratek stood tall inside the lead ship. His face was cold and gray, his eyes sharp like knives. He looked down at Earth with a smirk. It looked quiet, still, peaceful. He thought the humans were already scared, that they had given up. "They do not respond," said one of his officers. "No weapons fired?" Aratek asked. "None. No defense systems. No ships in the air. Not even a radio wave. Nothing." Aratek frowned. This was too easy. Every world they had taken before fought back, fought hard. Earth was supposed to be wild and stubborn, but this was strange. "Send a scout pod," he ordered. "Choose a major city. We'll see what's hiding." A black drone shot down from the ship and entered Earth's atmosphere. It zoomed toward what used to be New York City. The drone flew low between broken buildings. Skyscrapers were covered in vines. Streets were cracked. Cars rusted in place. No lights, no people. Only wind and dust. The drone landed and began scanning. Signs of life? None. Signs of battle? None. Signs of technology? Low. Back in the ship, Aratek looked at the drone's feed. He saw the empty streets, the broken glass, the silence. He nodded. "They've destroyed themselves," he said. "Primitive animals. They didn't need us to wipe them out. They already did it." He turned to his officer. "Prepare landing units. We will harvest the planet and claim it for the Empire." The officer gave a short bow. "Yes, Commander." As the crew celebrated their easy win, no one noticed the small satellite hidden behind Earth's moon. No one saw the tiny red light begin to blink. It was a signal, a message. They're here. Far below, deep under Earth's surface, old machines began to hum. Lights flickered on in tunnels untouched for years, and in one dark room a human woman opened her eyes. She took a deep breath and whispered one word. Finally. The Draconians thought Earth was dead. They were wrong. Sarah Whitmore sat alone in a small underground room. The walls were metal, and a single light above her head buzzed softly. She looked tired, but her eyes were focused. She had been listening to the enemy. In front of her was a screen showing symbols from the Draconian ships. It wasn't Earth's language, but Sarah had spent years learning it. She was a linguist, a person who studies languages. She worked for something called the American Expeditionary Defense. Most people didn't know it existed. That was the point. She wrote notes quickly as more words appeared. The Draconians were sending reports. She could read just enough to understand what they were saying. "They think we're dead," she said softly to herself. She stood and walked to another wall. It slid open, revealing a hallway that led deeper into the ground. As she walked, she passed other rooms filled with people, scientists, soldiers, and engineers. All of them had lived underground for years, waiting, watching. A man named Kyle walked beside her. He wore a brown jacket and carried a small tablet. "They're starting to land small units," he said. "Mostly scouts. They're taking samples, soil, water, broken tech." Sarah nodded. "Good. Let them think they're alone. Let them walk into our trap." Kyle looked worried. "But what if they find out? What if they find the vault?" "They won't," she said. "Vault Echo was built for this. We stayed hidden for a reason. Years ago, when Earth saw the first signs of alien ships, world leaders made a choice. They knew they could not win a war in space. So they decided to disappear. Millions of people moved underground into massive bunkers. They left the surface empty. No fighting, no noise, just ruins and silence. Let the enemy come. Let them waste time. That was the plan. Sarah, returned to her station and watched the screen again. One message caught her eye. A draconian unit had found something strange. A small human object, a toy. Still warm. That meant someone was on the surface. Someone who wasn't supposed to be. She picked up her radio and spoke fast. "We have a possible breach, someone's topside, near Zone 4. There was a pause, then a reply. "Understood. Sending a recon team." Sarah stared at the screen. The enemy thought Earth was weak, that humans had run away. But Earth was watching, and it was almost time to wake up. The draconian scout ship moved slowly over the land. It flew above old towns and empty highways. The ground was cracked. Grass grew through broken streets. Rusted cars sat where people had left them. It looked like a world that had been forgotten. Inside the scout ship, Rezek looked at the screen in front of him. He was a soldier, trained for ground missions. He had fought on 5 planets before this one. Earth was different. It was quiet. Too quiet. "This place smells like death," one of the others said. "No bodies," Rezek answered. "No signs of a real battle. Just emptiness." They landed near what had once been a small town in Kansas. It was flat with houses made of wood and brick. Some roofs had fallen in. Windows were broken. Everything looked abandoned. The team stepped out of the ship, weapons ready. Their armor made soft clicking sounds with each step. A wind blew dust and dry leaves across the ground. A metal swing creaked in the yard of an old school. Rezek moved toward one of the houses. The door was open. Inside, furniture sat covered in dust. Pictures still hung on the walls. Plates were still on the table. But something felt off. One of the soldiers called out, "Over here." Rezek walked over and saw it. A small plastic toy sat on the ground. It was a red truck. It looked clean, too clean. Rezek bent down and picked it up. It was warm. He stood up fast and looked around. Nothing moved. But the feeling in his chest grew heavier. "They were here," he said. "Recently." The others looked at each other. "We should leave," one said. "No," Rezek answered. "We report, then we search. Something's wrong." Above them, tiny drones hovered in the sky. The draconians couldn't see them. They were made to look like insects, flies, bees, birds. They watched everything. Far below the ground, Sarah Whitmore watched the footage from the drones. She saw the soldiers. She saw the toy. She saw Rezek. She turned to Kyle. "They're getting close. We may have to move up the timeline." Kyle nodded. "I'll tell command." Back in the house, Rezek stared at the pictures on the wall. A family smiled at him from behind the glass. A man, a woman, 2 kids. He turned to the others. "This place isn't dead," he said. "It's hiding." He hadn't seen another person in 10 years. His house was built inside the side of a cliff in Colorado. From the outside, it looked like a pile of rocks. But inside, it was full of machines and tools. He had power, clean water, and old food rations. He didn't need much. Every day, he worked on his machines. Some were radios, some were weapons. The most important one was the EMP launcher. It could shut down anything that used electricity. He had built it to use only once, when the time was right. That day came. Grant sat in front of a small screen. It showed a map of the sky. The dots were moving slowly above Earth. He knew what they were. Not satellites, not human ships, aliens, draconians. He stood up and walked to the edge of the cliff. Far below, trees covered the valley. It was quiet, but then he saw it, a black ship moving low across the sky. It was not a drone. It was a scout cruiser. It was coming straight toward him. Grant didn't panic. He moved fast. Inside, he powered up the EMP. Lights flickered. The hum of energy filled the small space. The ship stopped above his mountain. It hovered, silent. A light beam scanned the area. It didn't see anything strange. Then Grant pressed the button. A burst of white light shot into the sky. The ship sparked and shook. Its engines died. The lights went out. It crashed into the trees below with a loud boom. Grant waited. Smoke rose from the trees. No movement. No return fire. He picked up a microphone and connected it to the ship's open channel. Then he spoke. His voice was deep, calm, and clear. "You were warned," he said. Far above, inside the lead Draconian ship, Commander Aratek heard the voice. It echoed through the control room. "Who was that?" he asked. "Unknown human signal," a soldier said. "Local. Close to the crash." Aratek's eyes narrowed. "Find him." Back on the mountain, Grant watched the screen. He knew more ships would come. But that was the plan. His signal had done more than just shut down a scout. It had told the world humans were still here, and they were fighting back. Captain Leah Brooks stood in a cold, dark room deep under the Nevada desert. Around her were large glass pods. Inside each one, a person slept. Soldiers, scientists, engineers. They had all trained for this day. She pressed her hand on a screen. The system asked for a voice code. She said one word. "Awaken." Lights came on. A low sound filled the chamber. One by one, the pods opened. People slowly woke up, coughing and blinking. Some looked confused. Others looked ready. Leah spoke, loudly. "The enemy is here. The surface is being watched. The time has come." The people nodded. They had waited many years for this. They called it the long sleep. They were part of Vault Echo, a hidden defense plan. Earth had not given up. It had gone silent to prepare. In a nearby room, Kyle watched video from the drones. He saw the crashed alien ship in Colorado. He saw Rezek's team walking through towns. He saw them getting closer to old human tech. "They're too close," Kyle said. Leah joined him. "They've had enough time," she said. "Now we show them what Earth really is." She turned to a map on the wall. Red lights showed the Draconian ships in orbit. Blue lights showed secret human bases still active. She pointed to one in the Arctic. "That's our first move," she said. The base there had built stealth ships for years, silent hidden crafts that could fly without being seen. Now they would rise. Orders were sent. Deep under the ice, long tunnels lit up. Machines began to move. Launch platforms opened. Black ships, shaped like arrows, rolled out. Their engines glowed blue. One by one, they shot into the sky. Leah watched the map. The blue dots began moving. Fast. Kyle smiled. "They won't see it coming." She nodded. "That's the point." Far above, the Draconian fleet floated in space. They still believed Earth was weak. They didn't know their ships were now being watched, studied, targeted. Back underground, the awakened teams checked their weapons. Some tested old drones, others checked comms. Everyone had a job. Sarah Whitmore stood with them now. She had left her station to join the field team. "Think they're ready?" someone asked her. She looked up at the ceiling as if she could see the sky through the rock. "They better be," she said. "Because we are." The sky above Earth looked calm, but it was no longer safe. From the Arctic base, the stealth ships rose into the air. They moved without sound, almost invisible to radar. Their dark surfaces reflected the stars. They climbed higher and higher until they reached the edge of space. Inside one of the ships, pilot Jason Hale held the controls tightly. His co-pilot, Maria Davis, checked their systems. "Target locked," she said. "We go in 5. Jason gave a small nod. "Let's wake them up." In orbit, the Draconian fleet floated like a dark wall. The ships were massive and slow, built for power, not speed. Their guards were down. They didn't expect a fight. The human ships struck first. One by one, they fired silent missiles at weak points, supply pods, fuel lines, and command antennas. The missiles didn't explode with fire. They shut systems down. Lights went dark. Engines failed. Inside the lead Draconian ship, alarms began to scream. Commander Aratek jumped from his seat. "What is happening?" "Unknown attacks," a soldier shouted. "We can't trace the source." Outside, more human ships appeared. They came from under the oceans, from hidden valleys, from deep inside mountains. All had stayed hidden until now, and all attacked at once. The sky filled with light. From Earth's surface, people hiding in shelters could see it. Trails of fire and metal danced in the night sky. Kyle watched from the command room. He spoke into the mic. Phase 1 complete. Orbital strike successful. Captain Leah Brooks stood behind him. Her face was calm. Send the signal to the resistance cells, she said. Tell them it's time. All across the world, hidden fighters received the message. Small groups of humans came out of hiding. In cities and towns, they launched drones, hacked power grids, and disabled draconian equipment left on the surface. They were farmers, students, teachers, now soldiers. In the woods near the crashed ship, Grant Lawson heard the signal too. He grabbed his gear and moved fast. He had waited years for this day. Above him, another draconian scout flew overhead. This time, Grant didn't hide. He aimed and fired. The ship dropped like a stone. The world was no longer silent. It was fighting. Commander Aratek stared at his dark screen. Half the fleet had lost power. Communications were broken. The humans were not weak. They were smart, patient, dangerous. He turned to his second in command. Prepare for retreat, he said. But it was already too late. The draconian ships tried to leave. Engines roared. Systems restarted. The fleet began to turn away from Earth. But something stopped them. From deep underground, Earth's last weapon had been activated. A gravity net, one of the oldest secret projects from before the fall, was now fully charged. It wrapped around Earth's orbit like a trap. The draconian ships pushed against it, but it was too strong. One by one, their ships slowed, stuck in place. Lights flickered, shields failed. Commander Aratek stared at the view. Earth was no longer just a target. It had become a prison. We must break free, he said. Use full power. It's not working, the officer said. We are held in place. Below, in the command center, Captain Leah Brooks watched the map. Red lights blinked in orbit. The enemy ships were no longer moving. She picked up a mic and spoke to the other bases. They're trapped. Begin orbital takedown. Earth's stealth ships moved again, faster this time. They circled the enemy and began striking at key points. Engines were hit. Fuel tanks exploded. The sky lit up with fire. Sarah Whitmore stood with the field team outside for the first time in years. The sky above was full of falling stars. But they weren't stars. They were burning ships. The draconian armada was falling. In cities across the world, people looked up. For the first time in decades, they stepped into the sunlight. Some cried, some cheered. Many just watched in silence. Grant Lawson stood on his mountain, watching the sky turn orange and gold. It's over, he said softly. In the lead draconian ship, alarms blared. Commander Aratek gave one final order. Send a warning to the Empire. Earth is not what we thought. But no message was sent. A final blast shook the ship. Fire spread. The last screen went black. The ship broke apart in the sky. Pieces of metal rained down into the ocean. The battle was finished. On Earth, people began to rise from the underground vaults. Dusty doors opened. Children saw trees in the sky for the first time. The world had changed, but it was still theirs. Leah walked through an old city street. Nature had taken over, but the buildings still stood. She smiled. We're home. The Draconians came to take a broken planet. But Earth wasn't broken. It was ready, and it had won.